The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor of the Grand Ballroom in Chicago's historic Drake Hotel, silencing the crowd of 200 guests mid-cheer. Emily, the radiant bride in her ivory gown, pointed a trembling finger at the tall, dark-haired man who just stepped forward from the shadows, her voice echoing like a thunderclap. "Get this disgusting queer out of here. He's ruining my wedding." Unbeknownst to her, the man she humiliated was Mark Thompson, the groom's older brother, presumed dead for 5 years after a family-shattering scandal. Mark stood frozen, his heart pounding as flashes from smartphone cameras lit up the room like paparazzi fire. He'd come back to life, or at least to this life, after years of exile, hoping for reconciliation, not this public execution. His partner, David, gripped his arm from behind, whispering urgently, "We can leave now, Mark. This was a mistake." But Mark couldn't move. His eyes locked on his brother, Neil, the groom, who looked like he'd seen a ghost. Neil's face drained of color, his tuxedo suddenly seeming too tight as he stared at the brother he'd mourned. The family had buried an empty casket after Mark's suicide attempt, a story fabricated to cover the shame of his coming out. Now, here Mark was, alive and unapologetically gay, crashing the picture-perfect heterosexual union. Emily's words hung in the air, toxic and irreversible. Guests murmured, some shocked, others smirking. Neil's mother, Patricia, clutched her pearls, her face a mask of horror. "Who is that man?" she hissed to her husband, Robert, who knew the truth but had sworn to keep the secret. Robert's jaw tightened. He'd been the one to drive Mark away, telling him never to return if he chose that lifestyle. Mark had left Chicago at 25, after a brutal confrontation in the family home. "You're no son of mine if you bring that filth here," Robert had bellowed, slamming the door on Mark's tear-streaked face. Neil, then just 20, had watched silently, too scared to defend his brother. The family spread the rumor of Mark's death to avoid questions from their conservative circle, church friends, business associates, the whole facade of Midwestern normalcy. In the years since, Mark built a new life in San Francisco with David, a kind-hearted architect who'd pulled him from the brink. Their relationship was a quiet rebellion against the world that rejected him. Stolen kisses in Golden Gate Park, late-night talks about dreams deferred. But the pull of family never faded. When Mark learned of Neil's wedding through a mutual friend, he saw it as a sign. "Maybe they've changed," he'd told David. "Maybe I can finally come home." David had warned him, "Families like yours don't change overnight, love. This could blow up." But Mark insisted, booking flights and practicing his speech. "I'm sorry for disappearing, but I'm happy now. Can we start over?" Now, as Emily stormed toward him, her bridesmaids flanking her like an army, Mark regretted every step. "Security!" she shrieked. This pervert probably snuck in to hit on the groomsmen. The irony burned. Mark had no interest in disrupting. He just wanted to hug his brother, to tell Neil he was proud. Neil finally moved, pushing through the crowd. "Emily, stop!" His voice cracked, a mix of command and desperation. But it was too late. The damage rippled outward. Whispers turned to gasps as someone recognized Mark from old photos. Patricia fainted into Robert's arms, the drama unfolding like a bad soap opera. David pulled Mark back. "We're going. This isn't worth it." But Mark shook him off, stepping forward. "Neil," he said, voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. "It's me. I'm not dead." The room erupted. Neil reached Mark, pulling him into a hug that felt like redemption and regret intertwined. Emily's face twisted in confusion. "What the hell is going on? Who is he?" "He's my brother," Neil choked out. "Mark, my dead brother." The revelation hung like a guillotine. Emily's humiliation of Mark wasn't just a homophobic outburst. It was the spark igniting years of buried secrets. As the band awkwardly resumed playing to diffuse the tension, Mark wondered if coming back was the biggest mistake of his life. or the only way to force the truth. That night, in a hotel suite across town, Mark paced while David unpacked. "I should have stayed away," Mark muttered. "Look what I've done to Neil's day." David sat on the bed, his calm presence an anchor. "You didn't do this. They did, by pretending you were gone forever." Their love had been Mark's salvation. Meeting at a support group for estranged LGBTQ+ individuals, bonding over shared wounds. David, abandoned by his own family in rural Texas, understood the ache. But now the past clawed back. Neil called at midnight. "Mark, where are you? We need to talk." Emily's furious. "She thinks I hid this from her." "You did hide it," Mark replied bitterly. "The whole family did." Neil sighed. "It was Dad's idea. After you left, he said it was easier to say you died than explain." "Everything. Everything meaning me being gay?" Mark's voice rose. David placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him. "Yes," Neil admitted. "But I missed you every day. Come to the house tomorrow. Please." Mark agreed against David's advice. The next morning, they drove to the Thompson family home in suburban Oak Park, a stately Victorian that screamed old money and older values. Robert answered the door, his face etched with lines deeper than Mark remembered. "You shouldn't have come back," he growled. Patricia hovered behind, eyes red from crying. "Mark, darling, we thought you were gone. Why didn't you call?" "Because you made it clear I wasn't welcome," Mark said, David standing solidly beside him. The living room confrontation was a powder keg. Emily arrived, still in yesterday's makeup, glaring daggers. "So you're the ghost brother? And you brought your boyfriend to my wedding?" "Our wedding," Neil corrected gently, but Emily ignored him. "How dare you show up and ruin everything?" she spat. "People are talking. My friends think we're some dysfunctional freak show." Mark met her gaze. "I came to support my brother, not to be your scapegoat." Robert exploded. "This is why we let you go. Your choices disgrace us all." David stepped in. "His choice to love me? That's not a disgrace. Your hatred is." The argument escalated, voices overlapping in a cacophony of accusations. Neil tried mediating, but cracks showed. His own doubts about the marriage, buried under family expectations. As a successful lawyer, Neil had always played the perfect son, straight, ambitious, engaged to Emily, the daughter of Robert's business partner. But seeing Mark alive forced Neil to confront the lie he'd lived. "I should have fought for you," he told Mark later, alone in the backyard. "I was scared." "We all were," Mark said. "But fear doesn't justify erasing someone." Their hug was genuine, a bridge over 5 lost years. But Emily overheard her jealousy festering. She saw Mark not as family, but as a threat to her perfect life. Back at the hotel, Mark and David lay in bed, the city lights filtering through curtains. "Do you regret coming?" David asked. "No," Mark whispered. "But the cost. It's high." Little did he know the real storm was brewing. Emily, feeling betrayed, began digging into Mark's past, uncovering old emails and photos that could shatter more than just the family facade. Emily slammed her laptop shut in the bridal suite, her wedding band glinting like an accusation. She'd spent the night scrolling through old social media, piecing together Mark's death story. "Neil, how could you lie to me about this?" she demanded when he returned from talking to Mark. Neil rubbed his temples. "It wasn't my lie. Dad orchestrated it. I was young, I went along to keep peace." "Peace?" she scoffed. "Your brother's gay, so you pretend he's dead? And now he's back with some guy, parading it at our wedding? My parents are horrified." Neil's patience frayed. "He's my brother. Family." "But what about our family?" Emily pressed. "We're supposed to start fresh. This drama could ruin us socially." Neil stared at her, seeing the cracks in their relationship for the first time. They'd met at a charity gala, bonded over shared ambitions. She a marketing executive, he climbing the legal ladder. But beneath the gloss, Emily's conservative upbringing clashed with Neil's hidden guilt over Mark. Meanwhile, Mark and David met Neil for coffee in a quiet Lincoln Park cafe. Emily's not handling this well, Neil confessed. She's talking about postponing the honeymoon. Mark sighed. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upend your life. It's not you, Neil said. It's the secrets. Dad's control. It's suffocating. David nodded. Families like yours thrive on appearances. But at what cost? The question lingered as they parted. Mark felt a flicker of hope. Neil seemed ready to challenge the status quo. But back home, Robert cornered Neil. Send him away again. We can't have this tainting your career. Dad, he's alive. We can't just erase him twice. Patricia intervened, tearful. Robert, maybe it's time to accept him. For Neil's sake. Robert stormed out, leaving tension in his wake. That evening, Emily called a family meeting, insisting on clearing the air. They gathered in the dining room, the same table where Mark had come out years ago. Emily took charge. Mark, I apologize for the wedding scene, but you have to understand. Your sudden appearance shocked everyone. Mark nodded warily. I get that, but calling me a disgusting queer? That's not shock. That's hate. Emily flushed. I was stressed. Weddings are emotional. David squeezed Mark's hand under the table. Stress doesn't excuse bigotry. The room fell silent. Neil shifted uncomfortably. You need to own it. She bristled. Fine. I'm sorry. But now what? Do we pretend everything's normal? Your lifestyle isn't something we can just ignore. My lifestyle? Mark echoed. You mean loving David? Building a life together? Yes, Emily said bluntly. In our circles, it's controversial. Robert nodded approvingly. Exactly. Think of the church, the club. Enough, Neil interrupted. Mark's my brother. If you can't accept him, that's your problem. The declaration stunned everyone. Emily's eyes narrowed. So you're choosing him over me? It's not a choice, Neil said. It's right versus wrong. The meeting dissolved into chaos, with Emily leaving in tears. Later, alone with Mark, Neil admitted, I've been living a lie too, seeing you happy with David. It makes me question everything. Mark's heart ached. What do you mean? Neil hesitated. Nothing, just envy. But Mark sensed more. Neil's lingering confusion about his own identity, buried deep. As kids, they'd been inseparable, sharing secrets. Now those secrets threatened to unravel. David and Mark returned to their hotel, where David confronted him. This is tearing you apart. Maybe we should go home to San Francisco. I can't abandon Neil now, Mark said. He's finally standing up. But at what price? David asked. Your mental health? Ours? Their argument was raw, exposing Mark's unresolved trauma. David, ever patient, held him as he cried. I love you, David whispered. That's my constant. The next day, Emily escalated. She met with her parents, who pressured Robert to handle Mark. Rumors spread through their social network. The Thompson wedding scandal, the resurrected gay brother. Neil's firm partners called, concerned about reputation. Neil faced a crossroads. I won't disown him again, he told Emily. Then maybe this marriage isn't right, she shot back. The ultimatum hung heavy. Mark, unaware, focused on rebuilding with Patricia, who visited secretly. I missed you so much, she confessed. Your father was wrong. Their tearful reunion was a bomb, but short-lived. Robert discovered it, forbidding further contact. He's a bad influence on Neil. Mark's return had cracked the family's foundation, forcing each to confront their roles in his death. For Mark, the internal battle raged, forgiveness versus self-preservation. He'd sacrificed years for their comfort. Now they demanded more. As tensions mounted, David received a job offer back in San Francisco, a promotion he couldn't refuse. "Come home with me," he pleaded to Mark. But Mark wavered. "Neil needs me." David's face fell. "And I need you whole, not broken by them." The choice loomed, a moral quagmire. Mark's decision would cost someone dear: David, Neil, or himself. That night, Emily dug deeper, finding an old journal of Neil's hinting at youthful confusion about his sexuality. "Is this why you're defending him so fiercely?" she confronted Neil. Neil snatched it away. "That's private and ancient." But the seed was planted. Emily felt betrayed, her perfect future crumbling. In a fit of rage, she texted Mark, "Stay away from my husband. You've done enough damage." Mark showed David. "She's unhinged. Or scared," David said, "of losing control." The drama intensified when Robert called an intervention. "Mark, leave Chicago. We'll pay you to stay gone." Mark laughed bitterly. "You can't buy my silence anymore." Neil overheard, exploding at Robert. "You're the one who drove him away. Your homophobia killed our family." The father-son clash was epic, years of resentment boiling over. Patricia sided with Neil, a shocking betrayal to Robert. As the dust settled, Mark realized his return wasn't just about reconciliation. It was revolution. But revolutions have casualties. Emily, isolated, plotted her next move, exposing the full story to the media. "If they want drama, I'll give it to them." The Chicago Tribune headline hit like a bombshell. "Wedding chaos? Groom'S dead gay brother resurfaces. Sparks family feud." Emily had leaked the story anonymously, complete with wedding photos and quotes from sources. Social media exploded, hashtags like Thompson wedding scandal trending. Mark woke to his phone buzzing, David's face grim. "This is bad. Your face is everywhere." Mark scrolled, horror mounting. Comments ranged from supportive, "Proud of him for coming back," to vicious, "Freak show family, no wonder they hit him." Neil called frantically, "Emily did this. She's denying it, but I know her handwriting in the tip-off." "Why?" Mark asked, voice hollow. "To force you out," Neil said. "She's terrified of the fallout on her career." The betrayal stung. Mark had tried empathy, but this was war. David urged caution. "Don't retaliate. Rise above." But the damage rippled. Mark's San Francisco clients, tech firms he'd consulted for, questioned his stability. David's boss called, worried about association. At the Thompson house, chaos reigned. Robert fielded calls from business partners, his empire teetering. "This is your fault," he yelled at Mark over the phone. "My fault for existing?" Mark retorted. Patricia, emboldened, defended Mark. "No, Robert. Your fault for lying." The marriage strained. Robert slept in the guest room. Neil confronted Emily at her parents' house. "How could you? This hurts everyone." Emily crossed her arms. "You chose him over me. What did you expect?" "I chose family," Neil said, "including you, if you'd let him in." But Emily's walls were up. Her own internal conflict brewed. Raised in a strict household, she viewed homosexuality as a sin, yet married into a family hiding one. The hypocrisy gnawed, but pride won. Mark and David met Neil in a park, away from prying eyes. "We need a plan," Neil said. "Go public on our terms." David shook his head. "That could escalate." "It already has," Mark said. "Let's do an interview. Tell the truth." They chose a local LGBTQ+ podcast, out and about Chicago. The host, a sympathetic activist, let them speak unfiltered. Mark opened, "I didn't die. My family let me die because I'm gay. I came back for love of my brother." Neil added, "I regret going along. It's time to make amends." The episode went viral, shifting narrative from scandal to story of resilience. Support poured in, donations to LGBTQ+ causes in Mark's name, messages from estranged families. But backlash hit hard. Robert's church shunned them. Emily's friends ghosted her. She felt the isolation Mark had endured, a poetic justice she resented. In private, Emily broke down to her mother. What if Neil is like him? Her mother hugged her. Then you leave. We don't tolerate that. The doubt festered. Neil, sensing it, distanced himself. His own turmoil surfaced. Memories of crushes on boys in college, suppressed for approval. One night, Neil confessed to Mark over beer. Seeing you with David. It's inspiring, but scary. Mark nodded. Coming out is terrifying, but living a lie is worse. Is that what I'm doing? Neil whispered. Only you know, Mark said gently. The conversation planted seeds. Neil began therapy, unraveling years of conditioning. David, meanwhile, faced his own choice. The promotion requires moving soon. I can't delay forever. Mark felt torn. Give me a week. I need to settle this. But events accelerated. Robert, cornered by losing a major client, offered an olive branch, a family dinner, to discuss terms. They gathered warily. Robert started, I was wrong, but your publicity is destroying us. Mark countered, your silence destroyed me first. Emily, silent till then, exploded. This is all about you. What about my life? David interjected. It's about all of us. Acceptance isn't optional. The debate raged, exposing raw nerves. Patricia proposed therapy for everyone. Robert resisted, but Neil insisted. Or I walk away too. The ultimatum shocked Robert. For the first time, he saw the cost of his rigidity, losing both sons. As dinner ended uneasily, Emily pulled Neil aside. If you explore, whatever this is, I'm out. Neil met her gaze. I need space to figure myself out. The separation began subtly, no rings, separate beds. Emily moved to her parents, fueling more gossip. Mark reflected with David on a lakeside walk. I've started a chain reaction. David smiled. A necessary one. But now choose us. Mark nodded, but guilt lingered. Abandoning Neil felt like repeating history. The next blow came from society. A protest at Robert's office by anti-LGBTQ groups, blaming the agenda. Counter-protesters showed up, turning it into a media circus. Mark joined the supporters, chanting for equality. David stood beside him, their hands linked. A public declaration. Neil watched from afar, inspired. That night he called Mark. I'm proud of you, and I think I might be bi. The admission was a turning point. Mark's heart swelled. Whatever you are, I'm here. But Emily, seeing the footage, felt the final betrayal. She filed for annulment, citing fraudulent concealment. The legal battle loomed, pitting love against law. Mark's return had cost weddings, careers, relationships, but gained truth. As the family fractured, Mark questioned, was awakening worth the pain? The courthouse in downtown Chicago buzzed with reporters as Emily's annulment hearing began. She sat stiffly, her lawyer arguing deceit by omission about Mark's existence and the family's lies. Neil, represented by a colleague, countered that personal history wasn't grounds for fraud. Mark testified reluctantly. My death was a family decision. Neil was a victim too. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, probed, and your orientation played a role? Yes, Mark admitted. Homophobia drove it. The testimony humanized the scandal, but Emily's side painted Mark as the instigator. His return disrupted a sacred union, her lawyer claimed. Outside, protesters clashed. Rainbow flags versus signs reading, Protect Traditional Marriage. David shielded Mark from cameras. This is madness. Inside, Neil took the stand. I love Emily, but the lies poisoned us. Mark's back forced honesty. Emily's eyes welled. You never told me about your doubts. The courtroom gasped. Neil clarified, doubts about our fit, not my identity. But the seed of rumor grew, whispers of Neil's potential queerness. The hearing adjourned without decision, leaving everyone drained. Robert, attending silently, approached Mark afterward. This has to stop. Then accept me, Mark said. Robert hesitated. I'm trying. For Neil. It was a crack in the armor. Patricia hugged Mark. He's coming around. But Emily doubled down, leaking more, old texts from Neil questioning his sexuality in college. Tabloids ran with Groom'S secret gay past? Neil confronted her. This is low, Em. You humiliated me first, she spat. The betrayal severed any reconciliation. Neil moved out, crashing with Mark and David in their extended stay hotel. The trio bonded over takeout and talks. I feel free, Neil admitted. Scared, but free. David shared his story. Disowned at 18, rebuilding alone until meeting Mark. Love saved me. Mark watched Neil absorb it, seeing echoes of his own journey. Society's pressure mounted. Neil's firm suggested a leave. Clients fled. Your personal life is distracting, his boss said. Neil quit, a bold move. I'll start my own practice, focusing on LGBTQ+ rights. Mark beamed. That's the brother I remember. But costs accumulated. Robert's business suffered boycotts. Patricia battled depression. Emily, jobless after her firm's PR nightmare, regretted her leaks but pride prevented apology. Mark's internal war peaked. I've hurt everyone, he told David in bed. You've healed too, David countered. Neil is awakening. David's promotion deadline loomed. I have to go back, with or without you. Mark's heart broke. Don't make me choose. It's not a choice, David said softly. It's prioritizing us. Mark agonized, weighing loyalty to Neil against his life with David. Morality clashed. Family bonds versus romantic commitment. He chose David. We'll go home, but visit often. Neil understood. Go live your truth. You've given me mine. The farewell dinner was bittersweet. Robert attended, awkward but present. Safe travels, he grunted. Patricia cried. Come back soon. Emily declined invite, her absence a ghost. On the flight to San Francisco, Mark reflected. His return had dismantled illusions, forcing growth through pain. Settling back, Mark and David rebuilt routines. Morning runs, evening dinners. But Chicago called. Neil's updates on his new firm, Robert's tentative therapy sessions. Months passed. Neil dated a man quietly, confirming his bisexuality. Thanks to you, he told Mark on a call. Emily remarried quickly, to a safe man, but rumors said she was unhappy. Robert reached out, a letter apologizing. I was wrong. Can we try again? Mark replied affirmatively, a bridge rebuilt. But scars remained. David's trust waned slightly from the ordeal. Promise no more family drama, he said. I can't, Mark admitted, but I'll handle it with you. Their love deepened, tested and true. Yet, as Mark looked out over the bay, he wondered about the ripple effects. Had his choices been right or selfish? The story's climax came unexpectedly. A family reunion in Chicago, 1 year later. Neil hosted, inviting all. Emily showed, divorced again, seeking closure. I'm sorry, she said to Mark. I was scared of change. Mark forgave. We all were. Robert hugged him, a first. Welcome home, son. The gathering was tense but healing, decisions prices paid in full. Mark realized, awakening costs but stagnation costs more. Back in San Francisco, Mark threw himself into work, consulting for startups on diversity initiatives. His story inspired a book deal, Resurrected, a gay man's fight for family. David supported, but warned, don't let it consume you. The book tour brought acclaim and hate mail. One letter chilled. "You destroyed a good family. Burn in hell." Mark shredded it, but doubts crept. Had he prioritized his pain over others? Neil visited, thriving in his practice. "Your book helped a client come out to his parents." The validation soothed. But Neil shared news. Dad's health is failing. Heart issues from stress. Guilt stabbed Mark. "My fault." "No," Neil said. "His choices. But he wants to see you." Mark flew back, David insisting on joining. At the hospital, Robert looked frail. "Mark, I'm sorry. For everything." Tears flowed. "I forgive you, Dad." The reconciliation was hard-won, years of therapy paving the way. Patricia beamed. "Our family's whole again." But wholeness came at a price. Emily, post-divorce, struggled with therapy, confronting her biases. She emailed Mark, "Your courage shamed me. Working on it." Mark replied kindly, closing a chapter. David and Mark's relationship faced tests. David's promotion meant longer hours. Mark's fame brought attention. Jealousy flickered when fans flirted. One night, argument erupted. "You're always traveling," David said. "Am I still your priority?" "Always," Mark vowed. They recommitted, planning a vow renewal, quiet, intimate. Society's lens shifted. Mark's story sparked debates on family dynamics, homophobia's toll. Podcasts dissected. Was faking death ethical? Was public humiliation justified? Mark joined panels advocating forgiveness with boundaries. "We all make wrong choices. It's the correction that counts." Neil explored his identity, dating openly. A relationship with a colleague blossomed, but family reactions varied. Robert grumbled but attended a dinner. Progress. The brothers' bond strengthened. "You saved me," Neil said. "You saved yourself," Mark corrected. As Mark's book hit bestsellers, the spotlight intensified. A documentary offer came, promising exposure but privacy invasion. David opposed. "We've paid enough." Mark declined, choosing peace. But tranquility shattered when a stalker emerged, fueled by online hate. Threats escalated. Police involved. Hiding in a safe house, Mark questioned everything. Was coming back worth this danger? David held him. "Yes, because we're stronger." The stalker was caught. A disgruntled relative of Emily's. Justice served, but trauma lingered. Mark's internal conflicts peaked. Survivor's guilt versus pride in change. Therapy helped. "You can't control reactions," his counselor said. "Only your actions." Mark embraced that, focusing on positives. Inspired youth, reformed families. A year later, David proposed marriage properly, on a cliff overlooking the ocean. "Through it all, you're my choice." Mark said yes, tears of joy. The wedding was small, in San Francisco's City Hall. Neil best man, Robert and Patricia attending proudly. Emily sent a gift. "Wishing you happiness I couldn't find." The ceremony symbolized triumph over adversity. But as vows exchanged, Mark reflected on the journey's toll. Broken marriages, lost jobs, health scares. Was the awakening worth the wreckage? The reception buzzed with love. Neil toasted to choices, right, wrong, and the courage to face them. Mark clinked glasses at peace. Yet, in quiet moments, he pondered the moral ambiguities. Families hide truths for protection. But at what ethical cost? Individuals sacrifice for acceptance. But when does self-betrayal become too much? Mark's story ended not in perfection, but in progress. A testament to resilience. The honeymoon in Hawaii was a reset for Mark and David. Beaches, sunsets, no drama. Finally, just us, David sighed, intertwining fingers. But Chicago's shadows followed. Neil called, "Dad's stable, but Mom's pushing for a full family vacation. Think you can handle it?" Mark laughed. "One step at a time." Returning home, Mark dove into advocacy, speaking at conferences. His message, Confronting prejudice starts within. Success brought fulfillment, but reminders of cost surfaced. Emily, now an activist against her former views, reached out for collaboration. "I've changed," she said. Mark agreed to a joint panel. From enemies to allies. The event was cathartic. Audiences moved by their story. Robert attended, applauding. His transformation was slow but real, volunteering at LGBTQ+ centers, mending fences. Patricia thrived, hosting support groups for parents. Neil's relationship deepened. He proposed to his partner, planning a wedding inclusive of all. Mark stood as best man, roles reversed. The ceremony was joyous, no secrets, but beneath undercurrents of past pain. During toasts, Mark shared, "We paid dearly for truth, but it's priceless." Guests nodded, some tearful. Society evolved too, laws changed, attitudes shifted, partly from stories like Mark's. Yet backlash persisted. Online trolls targeted Mark, questioning his motives. Attention seeker destroying families. He ignored, focusing on impact. Letters from youth saying, "You gave me hope." David's career soared. They bought a home, adopted a dog. Normalcy reclaimed. But normalcy cracked when Robert suffered a heart attack. Rushing to Chicago, Mark faced mortality's mirror. At the bedside, Robert whispered, "Proud of you, son. Live fully." He recovered, but the scare reinforced fragility. Mark's book sequel explored aftermath, The Price of Truth. In it, he delved into ethical dilemmas. Is forcing change selfish? Does forgiveness absolve harm? Readers debated fiercely. Personally, Mark and David's marriage strengthened, but child discussions arose. Adoption, David suggested. Mark hesitated. With our history, can we protect them? They pursued, navigating biases in the system. A new battle. Approval came. They welcomed a son, teaching him love's spectrum. Family visited, Robert doting as grandpa. Neil's family grew too. The extended clan gathered annually, bonds forged in fire. Emily remarried, this time to a woman, her own awakening. Irony, she joked to Mark. They laughed, former foes now friends. Mark's journey circled, from exile to embrace. But he never forgot the costs, emotional scars, lost time. In quiet reflection, he asked David, "Was it all worth it?" "Every step," David affirmed. The story's legacy. A catalyst for change, sparking conversations on identity, family, society. As years passed, Mark looked back without regret, but with wisdom. The final chapter closed with growth, but open questions lingered. Was pretending Mark was dead a defensible choice in a judgmental world, or an unforgivable betrayal?